Welcome to Module 1, Voting Methods. This is Part 1. We're going to be covering Section 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. Make sure you use your textbook while you're following along with these notes. Take notes for yourself, pause as needed, and replay the sections as you need as well. So starting with Section 1.1, the basic elements of an election. We have the candidates, the voters, and the ballots. And we have three different kinds of ballots. We have the single choice, where you're going to be given all the candidates and you just pick one. We have the preference ballot. Now this is where you're going to have all the candidates getting ranked. So if you have 10 candidates, you list 1 through 10. And then a truncated preference ballot is where, okay, maybe you have 10 candidates, but we only care about your top 3. So we're going to ask you to rank the specific number of candidates. The outcome can be a winner only. This person won, and that's the end of it. That's the most common. You could have a partial ranking. Let's say we only want the first and the second choice. Or we could have a full ranking, or sometimes just called ranking, where we tell you every candidate's outcome first through whatever number they were at. Now, the paradoxes of democracy. The paradox is that the more opportunities we have to vote, the less we seem to appreciate and understand the meaning of voting. Why should we vote? Does our vote really count? And how does it count? So these are things we're going to explore more in the discussion board this week. So in voting theory, the first half is voting, actually casting the ballot, but then the second half is counting, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this module. Arrow's impossibility theorem states, a method for determining election results that is democratic and always fair is a mathematical impossibility. So we're going to be talking about this math club election throughout the entire chapter. So there are 4 candidates running for president, A, B, C, and D, and we've got 37 members of the club, and they're going to vote with a first, second, third, and fourth choice. So these are their preference ballots. So all 37 ballots, all of their preferences. So we've taken all that data, all their preferences, and put them into a little table here. So we're just organizing similar ballots and ranks to determine the preference of our voters. Now, when we have a preference ballot, some of the benefits is that we can actually see the transitivity or the favors. So we can see, all right, in this particular ballot shown here, this person prefers person B over A because they're ranked higher in the ballot. So we don't just find out who they want to win, C. We find out how the other candidates are related and preferential choices between the two as well. And then we also get elimination. If a candidate drops out or is eliminated, we can see that it doesn't actually change any other preference. We can see all of this within a preference ballot. So now in 1.2, we're going to discuss some outcomes. So let's talk about the first of our 4 methods, the plurality method, section 1.2. In the plurality method, the candidate with the most first place votes, or the plurality candidate, wins. Now, it's really important. Majority is a really common word in our culture, and plurality is not majority. Majority means more than half. Plurality just means the most first place votes. So with the plurality method, we don't need each voter to rank the candidates. We don't need a preferential ballot because we only care about their first choice. The majority of elections in the United States use the plurality method, and mostly because it's really simple. Now, with its simplicity, there are some drawbacks. Let's go back to our math club election. So in the upper corner, you can see our preference schedule from earlier. It's clear that here, A gets 14 first place votes, B got 4 first place votes, C got 11 if we take this, and D got 8 first place votes. So if we're just going by plurality, the results are clear. A has the most votes, and so Alicia won. Now, in a democratic election between 2 candidates, the candidate with a majority, or more than half, would be the winner. Because with 2 candidates, whoever gets the most first place votes is going to have more than half. So that works for 2 candidates, but if there's 3 or more candidates, we can't guarantee that there's going to be a majority because we have more than 2. So let's take a look at a problem with, let's get this centered again, guys. Sorry about that. with the majority candidate. So a majority out of 37 people would be 19 first place votes. But Alicia, if you recall, only got 14 first place votes. Let's take a peek. Remember, Alicia only got 14 first place votes. So she got a plurality, more first places than any other candidate, but she did not get the majority. So with many candidates, the percentage of the vote needed to win under plurality can be ridiculously low. If we have 10 candidates, the person who gets the most votes might have a ridiculously low percentage of favoritism, but they still are getting the win. We'll take a look at one more example under this, the marching band election. So this marching band has invitations to perform at 5 different bowl games, and they have 100 members. So they're going to do a preference schedule to give the results. So let's take a peek at how these 100 people voted. So if we take a look here and we follow plurality, we can see that the Rose Bowl, or R, I think it was Rose Bowl, R has the most first place votes, so they're going to the Rose Bowl. The thing is if you look here, the Rose Bowl was ranked the lowest for the 51 other voters. So yes, the Rose Bowl won with the most first place votes, but 51 wanted as their last choice. So if you look at the Hula Bowl, it has 48 first choice, and then 3 second choice and 49 second choice. So it's actually got 52 second place and 48 first place. So if you look at that, it seems like more people want the Hula Bowl and would be happier with the Hula Bowl. Now, if we were to compare in a head-to-head, so if we were to kind of go back and say, all right, how does the Hula Bowl compare to, let me get rid of that. Let's see, just move that over here. Okay, how does the Hula Bowl compare to the other ones? So we would compare Hula versus the Rose Bowl. So we can see that, okay, the Rose Bowl has 49. There, it's first. But the Hula Bowl ranks above the Rose Bowl 51 times. So if we do kind of a head-to-head analysis, and you can go back and kind of add those all up for yourself, you can see that no matter which bowl we compare, there's a majority of the band, over half, that prefers the Hula Bowl. And this kind of goes into this idea of insincere voting, which is a really common conversation, I think, in voting in the United States. We don't like to waste our vote. So if we know that the candidate we really want doesn't have a chance of winning, rather than wasting our vote on our favorite candidate, we cast it for a lesser choice. We might not want them as much, but they have a better chance of winning the election. In closely contested elections, a few insincere voters can completely change the outcome. So let's go back to the marching band example. We know that everyone prefers the Hula Bowl. Some people prefer it as their second choice. They would rather go, let's take a peek back here. They would rather go to the Rose Bowl over the Hula Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl, but they still really like the Hula Bowl. So if we think about, okay, 3 members in that last column realize the Fiesta Bowl is just a long shot, those last 3 members. So they say, okay, let's not waste our vote. Let's strategically vote for the Hula Bowl instead. So take a peek here. These are their real preferences. We're talking about this last section here. They say, okay, Fiesta Bowl is not going to win. So let's cast our 3 votes for the Hula Bowl instead. And then what ends up happening is they get the majority. Those 3 voters change the entire results of the election. So the new preference schedule actually gives 51 votes and the win to Hula Bowl. And that demonstrates the major flaw in the plurality method. Election results can 100% be manipulated by a voter or a block of voters through insincere voting. Again, they're not picking their top choice, they're picking their lesser choice that has a better chance of winning. So these are some real situations of insincere voting. In the 2000 and 2004 presidential elections, it was a really close race, and Ralph Nader lost many votes because voters didn't want to waste their vote by voting for him. This happens a lot with independent and small party candidates in our voting system because they need a specific amount, and people want to not waste their votes, and so they vote for someone they think is more likely to win than maybe someone they prefer. We're going to cover one more section in this video, the Borda count method. So the Borda count method is each place on a ballot is actually assigned a point value. So 1 point goes to the last place and goes all the way up until the first place gets the most amount of points. Then you tally the points for each candidate separately, and the candidate with the highest total is the winner, and we call that the Borda winner. So let's do the math club example with the Borda method. So because we have 4 candidates, the highest number of points will be that first place 4 points, and then it goes down from there. So this was our preference schedule. And then if we assign each place a number of points. So if you check this out here, A has 14 first place, and they get 4 points for each of those. We kind of go from there. C had 10 for 4 points there, so they get 40, and so on and so forth. And so that's kind of how you calculate that out. So then you tally up all your points for A, B, C, and D. I recommend you pausing the video here and going back, making sure you see how all those got tallied. And then you can see with the Borda count, the winner is actually Boris. But in the last section under plurality, Alicia was the winner. So you can see that we can calculate different fair methods. We can count the votes differently and get different winners. And in the next video, we'll start with 1.4, where we're actually going to get a different winner by using the plurality with elimination method, often called the instant runoff. And this is a super popular method among municipalities and mayoral elections.